بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم على رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما ينفعنا في الدين والدنيا. وبسجد الله سبحانه وتعالى in the case of lessons we have found out Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah ta'ala, we are right now up to the last section of this presentation class that talks about the basics of the soul. And this is really actually about something practical that we all notice and we all witness all the time. So, inshallah ta'ala, just quickly, inshallah ta'ala, I could ask anyone who wants to put their hands up, inshallah, are there any matters of the soul or things around the soul that there are concerns around or you think should be addressed, or things that you think might be wrong or people misunderstand? Inshallah ta'ala, any ideas of any topics that should be addressed, inshallah ta'ala? Anyone, if they want to open their microphone, they can. If you want to write in the chat, you can also.
Assalamu alaikum. I just have a question. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, it's not exactly that point, but like I guess there's a lot of people who kind of make fun of people on this path, and they kind of mock it, or they kind of make you feel like you're doing something a bit strange or odd. However, they're not really ready to like talk about it and discuss it. It's more towards just the way they kind of perceive you or perceive your beliefs or your path. So I guess they're not those who are ready to like have a debate or an intellectual conversation. So how in our hearts do we kind of not be angry at these people or not have like resent towards them? Because obviously they're kind of like mocking you a little bit and your beliefs. So like how do you kind of live peacefully around these people if you're around them a lot of the time? Because I guess there are Muslims in the community who I guess think it's a bit strange or odd, but they're not ready to kind of open up to it.
That's another. So the first way we should react to this, it's a good starting point, inshallah, to talk about. The first way we should react to this is that we should be, if what we are doing is based on evidence, proof, and has a basic basis to it, so it's not something that's made up, it's not something false, then we should be firm. When talking to these people, so if someone is making fun or something like that, we don't allow that. We tell them to please respect what we're doing in a polite way. We're firm on what we believe in, and Muslims should always be firm on what they believe in. That's important. And then after that, how do we look at these people? Of course, we don't look down upon anyone. We don't hate anyone. We don't hold anything in our hearts against them just because they attack us or make fun of us or disagree with us. They haven't reached the stage in their life where they're able to, to absorb these things. I guess some people might not reach that stage until a very late stage. That some people might never reach that stage. So everyone is on their own journey. We are doing this to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we shouldn't really be worried. But always treat them with respect, and while being steadfast on what is built on evidence and what you are convinced. Any other concepts around the soul, brothers and sisters, that you think we should discuss? I have a few in this presentation that I already have said. I think these are some of the main ones. If there's no other ideas, like when I went to Sydney and did this class, I remember some people said doing dhikr in gatherings, other different topics that we should discuss. So I've gathered some of the most important ones, inshallah, and we'll get into them straight away. So the first matter that I think people, it comes to people's mind when talking about tasawwuf, is doing dhikr in congregation. So doing dhikr together in a circle. And, when we ever discuss something, or when we, have a conversation about something, it's important that we understand everything the way it is, the way it should be understood. Now, doing something, any action that you do, any physical action that you do, immediately is categorized under fiqh. It's either halal or haram. It's an action. So every action out there has a ruling. It's either halal or haram, or the sunnah or makruh or permissible. But if something is an action, it immediately goes under the category of fiqh. So doing dhikr in congregation, is it a belief? It's not a belief, it's an action. So is this action permission or not? That is a matter of jurisprudence of fiqh. So we need to go back to our books of fiqh. As we said in the beginning of this classes, that the people of tasawwuf, they abide to the traditional schools of fiqh in Islam. So if we look into what the fuqaha have said about it, the Hanafi madhab, the Maliki madhab, the Shafi'i madhab, the Hanbali madhab, and these schools of fiqh are, are authentic schools of fiqh that have been established, hundreds and hundreds of years, and they produce rulings according to the principles of the Imam of that madhab. No one doubts the authenticity of these madhab. Not one, of the schools of fiqh mentioned that it's impermissible to do dhikr together with others. Not one of the fuqaha throughout history in any of the any of the four traditional madhab has said that. Not one. So inside the madhab, you might have more than one opinion, yeah. So you might have 10 opinions in one matter, but this matter you find that they all agree that it's fine. Now, doing dhikr in a gathering, another point to understand before we get into this, isn't a fundamental part of tasawwuf. So if you don't do dhikr in a gathering, it's also not true. Okay. So doing dhikr in a gathering is not what tasawwuf is. Tasawwuf is working on your inner self. Okay. If someone never attended a gathering of dhikr in their life, they might miss out on some things, yes, but it doesn't mean that their tasawwuf is zero. Yeah. So it's wrong when people discuss this matter that they make this equal tasawwuf. But some people do practice this, okay, because they do follow Quran and Sunnah, and the understandings of the scholars of Islam, and they understand the Quran and Sunnah according to the way the scholars used to understand the Quran and Sunnah. In the Sunnah, Prophet ﷺ used to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single state he was in. Every different state he was in. Aisha radiallahu anha narrates that. It's in Sahih Bukhari. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, those who remember Allah, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala standing up, sitting down on their sides. So generally, dhikr isn't restricted by any specific form or way. If you restrict dhikr, it's haram to do dhikr other than standing up, then you need to bring proof to that. If you say it's haram to do dhikr without sitting down, you need to bring proof to that also. Say it's haram to do dhikr together with others, you need to bring proof for that, because there's nothing in the Quran Sunnah that says that you must do dhikr only in one way. And as Imam Dijwi used to say, if someone claims that doing something a certain way is bid'ah, then they also have to bring proof for the opposite than that it's a must. So if someone says you can't make dua out loud, for example, okay, then he needs to bring proof that you must do dua quietly. And how quiet, the level of quietness that you can do, you have to bring proof of that also. So if you're going to be technical about every single minor detail, then you also need to bring proof for that. As for the majority of the ummah and the fuqaha, they believe that these general ayat and hadith are actually proof that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to do dhikr in any form that we like that brings more khushu' to our dhikr. That's the first point before even getting into the matter, okay? So there's no proof saying that dhikr must be done in a certain style or tone. And saying that it has to be done in one is actually bid'ah. Yeah, saying that you only have to do it in one way, and there's no proof, of course, to prove that. Another fact which is important is that there are actually ahadith that indicate doing dhikr in congregation. Right. So after all of this, if we didn't have any hadith talking about dhikr in congregation, then that would be enough. But there are actually ahadith that talk about doing dhikr in congregation. And the strange thing is that these ahadith, you find them in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, which everyone reads. So even the people who attack doing dhikr together with others, they read Bukhari and Muslim, and somehow they seem to not reflect Allah on these ahadith. So Anas ibn Malik narrated that the Prophet said, famous hadith, إِذَا مَرَرْتُمْ بِرِيَاضِ الْجَنَّةِ فَارْتَعُوا. If you pass by the gardens of Jannah, make sure you take from them. Okay? They said, Ya Rasulullah, what are the gardens of Jannah? He said, okay, hilaq al-dhikr. Okay? Hilaq in Arabic, halqa means circle. Okay? So not only gatherings, but even circles of dhikr. This is the wording, the literal wording of the hadith, the circle of dhikr. Prophet ﷺ is saying that circles of dhikr are gardens of Jannah. Circles of dhikr. Okay? And a lot of Muslims read this hadith, and they have not sat in a circle of dhikr their whole entire life. Okay? Even though they read Bukhari and Muslim. And they see it to be bid'ah. Because they're not used to it, because they weren't brought up doing it. So it's important that we are able to differentiate between what we are used to and what has been taught and what the tradition is. And some people might say that maybe Prophet ﷺ used to mean by circles of dhikr, classes of knowledge, something like that. The literal wording of the hadith is circles of dhikr. And even if you were going to interpret this hadith, you can't interpret the next hadith that I'm going to mention now, inshallah. Okay? So Abu Hurairah narrates in Bukhari and Muslim also a very clear hadith. Prophet said, the angels of Allah has angels who go around the streets looking for gatherings of dhikr. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He asks the angels, what did you find my slaves doing? They said, we found them making tamjeed, tasbih, and tahmeed, saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. So they was actually doing dhikr physically. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, yeah? In the hadith. So this hadith interprets the other hadith and also this same hadith and tells you what gatherings of dhikr actually mean. Another thing is that, of course, this line of thinking that this is bid'ah, even and dealing with the hadith and ayat the way that we mentioned is very dangerous. And it's important that we mention that even if we didn't have these clear hadith talking about dhikr, there's so many other proofs. And if you were to just ask for a literal wording and hadith for every action you do, most of the actions that everyone does in the world would be bid'ah. Most of the actions. People today, they open gatherings reciting the Quran, and there's no proof of doing that at all. It was never narrated to be done by the Prophet. Yeah. People also, so many actions we do that are good and endorsed by everyone, and no one, doubts that don't even have hadith talking about them. But no one has an issue with because they are based and they are supported by general hadith. What about things like this that actually have specific hadith talking about them? I'll give you another example to make this a bit clearer, inshallah, because this concept is something that you have to have in your mind all the time. We all know that there's a famous salah that we should pray, and it's duha prayer. Yeah, duha prayer. The 2 rak'ah we pray after the sunrise. How about if I told you, okay, that Aisha radiallahu anha narrates one of the hadith in the Sahih. She says, "Ma ra'aytu Rasulullah salli duha qat." I never saw Rasulullah ever pray salat al-duha. Okay, I never saw Rasulullah ever pray salat al-duha. Although all the Muslims think that it's sunnah and they do it, and it is sunnah, it's true. Okay. There's another hadith in Sahih Muslim that Ibn Umar saw people praying duha and they asked him, what are they doing? And he said, it's a bid'ah. Okay, it's a bid'ah. Imagine. So two hadith, one is hadith saying Rasulullah Nabi used to do it, and the other one of the Sahaba saying it's bid'ah. And still this is sunnah according to all the Muslims out there, and no one doubts this, and everyone prays duha. And there are many ahadith telling us to pray duha. Yeah? So he taught Abu Hurairah and Abu Dhar to pray duha. So a concept like this, like I said, subhanAllah, there's an interpretation and there's a meaning behind this. The hadith of Aisha saying she never prayed duha. The scholars say this means that he didn't used to pray it frequently, because in his case, if he was to pray it frequently, it would have become compulsory upon the people, and he doesn't want to make something compulsory. It's not compulsory. Okay, Ibn Umar, okay, when he said bid'ah, he means either praying it at that time, you should pray it, a certain time earlier on or later, and or praying it in the form and the way they prayed it in the masjid. So subhanAllah, see, some things that we do and we accept have a hadith saying not to do it, and we still are able to interpret them and understand it in a different way. What about things that have a hadith encouraging them and nothing going against it, and people still say it's bid'ah? It's very dangerous. There's another example of doing dhikr in gatherings by the Sahaba. Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah would go out to the market and start doing dhikr and takbir out loud until everyone would start to say and to do dhikr behind them, the way they were doing it. And in Hajj, the time of Hajj, Ibn Umar would make takbir. The narration says that the whole entire Mina would shake from takbir. The whole entire Mina, which means they're all doing it at the same speed, the same pace. The whole entire Mina would shake. The whole city of Mina, the city of tents. Now, if you were to do takbir in a bus or in a tent with someone and scream your lungs out, it wouldn't shake. Yeah, the whole entire Mina shaking means that people were literally all doing it at the same speed. So that's a bit of a discussion around doing dhikr. In conversation. The next concept that I want to talk about, inshallah ta'ala, is
Shaykh, I've got a question here, just with regards to congregation. This is just a thing that I come across in my daily life. So, what about the daf that we make during the dhikr? Is there any difference of opinion on that, or can you
about what?
Daf, the daf.
Yes. So daf, majority of scholars, if not all scholars, the madhahib Muslim, they allow daf. It's very widely accepted, and a lot of scholars encourage daf, encourage it. So alhamdulillah, if you're even to go around the world, the practice of all the scholars in different madhahib is that they use daf, and usually daf is not used in dhikr; it's used in nasheed more than dhikr. Yeah. So the nasheed that talks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the daf is there to, it actually, subhanAllah, it moves your soul with the words that are being said. But the dhikr itself, like when you're doing dhikr, some people might use daf, but usually it's done without daf. Dhikr, like saying La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, subhanAllah, usually without daf. But there's the general agreement of the majority of scholars is that daf is of course, especially in these. Okay, the next matter to talk about, inshallah, is doing dhikr by the name Allah. Someone's doing dhikr, Allah, 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 doing dhikr or mentioning the name Allah. Now, this is something that is very, very, strange to some people, and it's important that we address it, inshallah. Now, there is some difference between the scholars of Islam in history if this is counted as a form of dhikr or not. Okay, so this is not doing dhikr in Congress, like I said, there's not really any difference around it. Yeah, this one saying dhikr Allah, Allah, there is some difference in the history of Islam if it's dhikr or not. Okay, although the practice of majority of scholars is that it is actually a form of dhikr, and it is one of the best forms of dhikr. Okay? If someone's not convinced and they want to follow the scholars who said it's not, it's up to them. It's up to them. That's not a huge issue. But the important thing is that not one of the scholars, okay, who said it's not a form of dhikr, claim that if someone does it, they become a mubtada. None of them claimed that, yeah? None of them said that if someone takes the other opinion, they're mubtada. It's bid'ah. It's haram for someone to say Allah. Yeah, that's what you hear people say. Yeah, that wasn't the case. The case was that they differed. If this is a dhikr that you're going to get, there's rewards from just saying alone, or should you say Allahu Akbar and another word with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The majority of scholars, especially the late ones, have endorsed that Allah is definitely a form of dhikr and one of the best forms. Now, the opinion that says Allah is a form of dhikr, there are many proofs for this. Okay, and some of these proofs even go back to the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. The one who remembered the name of his Lord. Remembered the dhikr of the name of his Lord. And there's also the other ayah, سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى. Praise the name of your Lord, the highest, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some people say, yeah, but Allah has no meaning. What does it mean? Yeah, and the answer to that is that in Arabic, there's two types of sentences. Okay, there's sometimes a sentence where the entire meaning of the sentence is mentioned in detail. And there's other sentences where you can cut off part of the meaning because it's known to you. You know what you're trying to mean. So when someone says Allah, Allah, they intend Allah is the greatest. Allah is my my helper. Allah is my Lord. All the different meanings that come to them. Allah, Allah, Allah. So they're saying that in their heart. Yeah. So it's actually like a very strong way of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, it was narrated that Rasulullah says, the day of judgment will not come until Allah is not said on the face of the earth. No one says Allah, Allah. This is in Sahih Muslim. Yeah. So like I said, saying Allah has a lot of beautiful meanings in the heart of the murid. Some of them, it would be like Allah is my Lord, my helper, my goal, my creator. And of course, the last thing we want to talk about here is that it's not permissible for anyone to forbid someone from doing something, okay, that is correct and encouraged according to an opinion out there, one of the scholars' opinions inside the Balad. It's not permissible, inshallah ta'ala. So that's important to okay, the next one is tawassul, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone. If there's any questions regarding Allah and regarding dhikr jama'ah, we'll take them. No, we'll go into tawassul, inshallah. Tawassul is a bit long. Any questions here?
Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. Okay. So we might not finish tawassul, but let's get into it, inshallah ta'ala, the next minute or two. So tawassul, okay, is from wasila. Wasila means to go through something. Yeah. So tawassul in Arabic is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone or something. Okay. Through someone or something. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly and you can ask him through something. Now, according to Ahl Sunnah, according to the four madahib, tawassul, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone is permissible. And the majority of scholars don't only believe it to be permissible, but actually recommend to be sunnah. Okay? An example of tawassul is Allahumma inni atawassalu ilayka binabi. Oh Allah, I ask you by your Prophet ﷺ and approach you through your Prophet. Okay. Now, all scholars in Islam, in history, mention that this is permissible, including the Hanbali, Athari scholars. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal has many examples of this. And you can find this clear in the books of the Hanabila, even Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He's very clear in his book Al-Mughni and others. He mentions this a lot. Another important thing to talk about before we go into details of tawassul is that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to consider tawassul a matter of aqidah. A matter of aqidah. Because logically, it is not aqidah. It's not a belief. Are we allowed to say, Ya Allah, I ask you through your Prophet? We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, through His Prophet. It's not aqidah. Aqidah is your belief. If you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who can help you, yeah, then that's your aqidah, that's your belief. Fiqh is when it tells you if it's allowed or not, halal or haram. Tawassul is also a matter of fiqh, just like we mentioned, and the fuqaha have all agreed that it's permissible. Now, saying tawassul is shirk, not only aqidah but shirk, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is another extreme that is very dangerous. Now, in the history of Islam, there's no scholar before Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah bless him, who mentioned that tawassul to the Prophet is haram. So Ibn Taymiyyah didn't say it was shirk. Okay, that extreme didn't even exist, but he believed it was not permissible, and he was the first person in history to say that. But like I said, the scholars before him and after him have all agreed that it is permissible and encouraged. One of the hadith that talk about tawassul is the Prophet taught one of these Sahaba. This is in Tirmidhi. It says, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Allahumma inni atawassalu ilayka bi nabiyyika. Oh Allah, I ask you by your Prophet and approach you through your Prophet, the Prophet of mercy. Oh Muhammad, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through you. Ya Allah, answer my prayers. This hadith has been corrected and accepted from the scholars since the time of the Salaf themselves. You find them actually doing tasheeh of this hadith. It's a very famous hadith. Okay. Another example of tawassul is a hadith in also in Abu Dawud. Prophet told the Sahaba when they're walking to the masjid. Okay, there's a dua you make when you go into the masjid, and the dua goes like this: Allahumma inni as'aluka bihaqqi sa'ilin. Oh Allah, I ask you through the rights that people who make dua have upon you, or have. So these are examples of tawassul that very famous in the seerah, and inshallah I'll just try to conclude very quickly. I know the time is 1 minute over time. Regarding the hadith of Umar, okay, that we used to make tawassul to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ passed away, so now we make tawassul to Abbas when he asked Abbas to make dua for them. That is a famous hadith people use to say that tawassul is not permissible. The answer to that simply is that the word tawassul, according to Umar anhu, is not the term that we use today in fiqh. Tawassul for Umar means asking someone to make dua for you, someone physically alive who can actually lead the prayer. That's what he meant. And to use the word that he used in the terminology that it's used in the late times is a huge mistake in words, and also it's basically actually a way of tricking people. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. So, any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Allah.
Ustad, if it's so established, in terms of the hadith and so many examples we've talked about for tasawwuf, and how come it became so controversial, Ustad?
So, if you were, this question is really important actually, subhanAllah, and if you were to open, anyone here actually knows Arabic, you can do this yourself. If you were to open, I know Karam, I think you're studying Arabic, so soon inshallah you probably your Arabic is not bad also. If you were to go into any Islamic library, so you go to Medina, the Masjid of Prophet, on top of the Medina there's a library, yeah, top of the masjid, and there's books written from all different stages and different times in Islam, in fiqh, in tafsir, in aqidah and stuff. No matter what book you open in the history of Islam, you'll find that there's every second book has tawassul in it. It was like the norm amongst the ummah. So what happened? What went wrong? Why is it so strange today? Really, I think the answer is that it's not so weird and strange in every country. A lot of countries, this is still the norm. Okay, so if you go to Egypt, for example, stuff, even in the streets, this is the way people would talk. They would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet. It's very even like through other than the Prophet, other awliya. So in Alexandria, they would ask through Mursal Abdul Abbas or other people. So it's very normal in many cultures. I think only the cultures who were extremely affected by some late movements, and of course this needs a whole entire lecture, really lost their connection to the tradition, and they started from zero again. So we're not used to anything. Yeah, whatever people do in the masajid, we're used to. Whatever we see, we're used to. But we're not connected to a tradition. So it's really important for us to connect ourselves to the tradition, to what used to be the norm. And like I said, trust me, if you go to many countries, it is the norm, and it is what people practice. Like, just reading the books in Islam. Like I remember, when I was younger, reading the books, every single author in Islam throughout history, Suyuti, Stalani, Hajar, whatever, Ibn Kathir himself, they all do in his tafsir. Every single author, they use these kind of du'as, and they believe it's one of the strongest ways to get du'a answered. It's a huge topic. Why? That needs like a whole section.
I've got a question regarding this. So this tawassul is basically with the live people, or it can be to the dead people as well, the past people?
No, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone, even if they're dead, of course, if someone has a rank, high rank, so oh Allah, I ask you, by this person, whether they're alive or dead, the person's rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does it change? They're alive or dead? Does it go?
Sorry, Shaykh, did you ask a question?
Yeah, so if the person's rank, if they pass away, does it go? Does it disappear?
No, it stays there, right?
Exactly. So if you're asking Allah Ta'ala, yeah? You're asking Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, okay, through someone, that rank hasn't changed, yeah?
Yep.
Even in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, in the Quran, He says about Musa alayhi salam in Surah Al-Ahzab, وَكَانَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَجِيهًا, yeah? So Musa alayhi salam, he used to have a very high status, or like he used to have a high, like, status with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. He could intercede basically for others, yeah? In Surah Al-Ahzab, وَكَانَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَجِيهًا. So the status doesn't change if someone passes away or not, yeah? So if you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone, that doesn't, like I said, it's whether they're alive or, and death, we talked about this in previous class, death, according to Ahlul Sunnah, doesn't mean the person disappears. Death is another stage of life. Dead people are still alive. It is a different life, barzakh, yeah? Different type of life, a different reality that they're in. So it doesn't change anything.
Just connected with this, so when we make dua like this, is it like, does it have some benefit? Like if I make dua directly and if I use the tawassul?
Yes. First of all, if we consider it to be sunnah, then you get more reward, inshallah. And the second thing, of course, is that, of course, tawassul is one of the reasons that dua might be answered. So if you basically, it's like, when you go to the haram and you make dua inside the haram because you want your dua to be answered. Yeah, you go inside the Kaaba. Why do you go to this place? Because the barakah of that place. Yeah. So seeking your dua to be answered because of the circumstances, or because of the person, or because the situation you're in, that is all types of tawassul. So seeking, it's basically, it's a type of intercession for your dua. Now, an example of tawassul in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, sorry, that I forgot to mention in the presentation, is the hadith of the three people who the stone fell under in the cave.
Yep.
Yeah. What did they say? Said, "Oh Allah, I did this and this. If I did that for you, please answer my dua. Yeah. If I did this, so please answer. This is tawassul. So if I did that, answer my dua." So he's asking Allah to remove a calamity through a good deed that he did. Your deeds are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not. They are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're still asking Allah through your deeds, through a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these things, like I said, they can definitely make the answering of dua a lot more effective, inshallah.
Alaikum, Shaykh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Just a quick question, Sheikh. I was wondering, what's the difference between tawassul and istighatha?
And استغاثة. I think you came to my house and I explained this to you for 3 hours.
I might have forgotten, subhanAllah.
I think I had a 3 hour discussion with you about this.
I thought it was the same. I thought they both the same. Isn't it?
Some people use the same wording, but generally, tawassul means to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone. To ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through someone. Istighatha means to ask someone to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Is that clear?
Yep. Now
So
I
to ask
remember.
Allah
Jazakallah khair.
to ask someone to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you come to
Yep.
someone and say, make dua for me. Yeah? That's a form of istighatha.
Mhm.
That's example, yeah? Make dua for me. Ask Allah to help me. So now that's istighatha. First is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in your wording, you say through to someone.
Yep, I remember now. Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah. There's no more questions, we'll stop there, inshallah. صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد